Welcome again to Talking Points. My name is Dr. Stephen E. Gardner, and we have been going through this series on Tell Me Something I Didn't Know about the Beatitudes. And we've gone through the etymology in terms of the word blessed, what that means. It's also a macarism. We've looked at and we've landed in the sayings of Jesus as it regards what it means or what blessed ones do. A little different than what we've been taught before, because most of us may have heard and thought that if we be like this, that we'll become blessed. The idea is that we blessed ones do certain things. And so that's what we're going to look at today. We're going to look at the next lesson in this long, enlightening list of Beatitudes. Again, looking through the lens of what it meant to them, and also understanding that these Beatitudes are things that blessed ones engage in, that blessed ones do. So look at it through that lens. So we're going to get right into today's lesson and go from there. Tell me something I didn't know about the Beatitudes. Today we're going to be looking at the promise of divine vision, visitation, and approval. Here's a quote. Blessed ones see God in demonstrative, powerful, unimaginable ways. Here's a review and reflection. Living a blessed life draws divine things to proximity and accessibility. The Beatitudes of Jesus are still good news to the broken and to all those who seek to be in proper standing with God. Blessed ones, when it's in their power to do so, will display acts of mercy to those desperately in need. There is no better life than to be God-filled and fully satisfied. Well, today we're going to be talking about blessed are the pure in heart. And this particular beatitude is Matthew 5, verse 8. And this is the sixth macarism or beatitude that Christ conveyed to his followers. By now, you should observe these truths in new and living ways. And as we said from the beginning, the best way to study the words of Jesus is to regard them first in the social, political, cultural, and religious context at the time that he made these statements or the time that he spoke. In this case, when we understand his audience and what these Beatitudes could mean to them, then and only then do we have a baseline for education, inspiration, and revelation for Christ followers today. Well, there are three things in this passage that require explanations: pure, heart, and see. Let's first start with the word pure. And that word is katharos, which literally means clean or physically clean. For example, in Matthew chapter 23, verse 26, it says this so you can understand how the word katharos, the Greek word there, is used for clean. You blind Pharisee, or let's go back to 25. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you clean the outside of the cup and of the plate, but inside they are full of greed and self-indulgence. You blind Pharisee, first clean the inside of the cup so that the outside also may be clean. Now that's just one spot in which, this word katharos is used. Another example is of the word clean. There we find in Matthew chapter 27 and verse 59, and it says there, so Joseph took the body and wrapped it in a clean linen cloth. So there we find the usage, excuse me, of the word katharos means clean, which is either physically clean. But the second part of this definition that we find in Swanson's Dictionary of Biblical Languages is the word pure, that refers to ritually clear of responsibility or innocent. Now, this is how he puts it. Again, Matthew 5:8 is his reference, and he conveys that this word pure means to be ritually clear of responsibility or innocent. Another way of looking at that is found in the book of James, chapter 1, verse 27. And it says, religion that is pure, or that is katharos, and undefiled before God, the Father, is this. So religion that is pure and undefiled before God, the Father, is this: to care for the orphans and widows in their distress, and to keep oneself unstained by the world. Now that's James 1:27. So the idea here that purity or pure religion, and that's undefiled before God, engages in care for orphans. Purity of religion engages in care for orphans. Purity in religion, and that's undefiled before God, not only cares for orphans and widows in their distress, but to keep oneself unstained by the world. So pure religion, or this word katharos here, is not just to keep oneself unstained by the world, but you tie that word pure to some form of religious action, and then it goes on to say that if you want to know what's pure in the eyes of God, is to care for widows and to care for orphans in their time of distress. Another meaning from the Enhanced Strong's Lexicon, it says pure also means free from admixture of what is false. It also means sincere or genuine. In a similitude, like a vine cleansed by pruning, and so fitted to bear fruit. Now, obviously, as a student of the New Testament and a student of the Bible, which many of us that are engaged in this program are, you have to think about John 15, verse 1. It says, I am the vine, you are the branches. Every branch in me that bear fruit, he prunes it, that it may bring forth more fruit. And every branch that's not productive, he takes away. And then he goes on to say, now you are clean through the word which I've spoken. So pruning is an act of cleansing. And that act of cleansing is a way of freeing that branch, as it were, or freeing it from that which is standing in the way of it being productive. So, like a vine cleansed by pruning. You prune a vine, you what? Are cleansing a vine so that it may be fit to bear fruit. John 15 says that those who are productive get this kind of pruning, get this kind of cleansing so that they can produce more. He cuts away so we can produce more. Well, the next word to explain is heart. And this is cardia, like we get in cardia, which is heart, like cardiac. But in this particular sense, it's a figurative extension of the meaning cardia or heart. And heart here is a causative source of a person's psychological life in various aspects, but with special emphasis upon thoughts. It's the causative source of a person's psychological life in various aspects, with special emphasis upon thoughts like heart, inner self, or mind. And here are a few examples where the word cardia, in this figurative sense, is made clear. You shall love the Lord your God with your whole heart. Matthew 22, verse 37. The secret thoughts of his heart were brought into open. 1 Corinthians 14 and 25. Each person should give what he has decided in his heart. 2 Corinthians 9, 7. So there is the figurative sense of the word cardia, where it relates to the causative source of a person's psychological life in a variety of aspects. And we looked at 3 examples there. In the biblical tradition, the heart, which is libab, is the real or true self, the psyche at the deepest level. It is the seat of emotions, volition, and the intellect, as well as the internal sphere in which divinity is encountered. Wow. So the heart, besides being the true self and the psyche at the deepest level, it's the internal sphere in which divinity is encountered. Let's look at this verse. Come, my heart says, seek his face. Your face, Lord, do I seek. Psalm 27, verse 8. Or a familiar one in the New Testament, Ezekiel 3 or Ephesians 3, verse 17. And that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith, as you are being grounded or rooted and grounded in love. So here we see heart is the internal sphere in which the divinity is encountered. It's that part of you that connects itself with God. Come, my heart says, seek his face. Your face, Lord, will I seek. And that Christ may what? Dwell in your hearts. That's a spiritual encounter. That's a spiritual connection. How does he dwell there? Through faith, as you are being rooted and grounded in love. Well, the next word to explain is see, horeo, which literally means see. But it also means to appear, become visible. This word can also mean catch sight of, notice, visit, experience, witness, perceive, look, pay attention, look, and see to. So now this word see is more than just physical sight. Obviously, physical sight is part of it, but it also means, if we look at it, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. In other words, God becomes visible. He becomes apparent. They were able to catch sight of God. They were able to notice him. They were able to what? Experience him. They were able to perceive a divine visitation. They'll witness him. They'll perceive. They'll look at. So all of these things, so blessed are the pure in heart. So when we begin to expand it, we begin to see that they shall see God is much larger than just physical sight, but it's a spiritual insight, as it were. It's the pulling back of the veil of seeing what is invisible made visible to our senses, to our intellect, to our heart. Strong's gives this verb, Strong's 37, and where it's drawn from Strong's 3708, and that word is understanding as a result of perception. And here I want to bring your attention to Luke chapter 9, verse 47. And Luke chapter 9, verse 47, it says these words, "But Jesus, aware of their inner thoughts, took a little child and put it by his side." So Jesus here, aware of their inner thoughts, aware of, there's that word horeo, talking about their heart, was able to what? Or talking about their sight, was able to understand, able to perceive what they were thinking. So we can see how that word is used. Blessed are the pure in heart. So what in the world was Jesus saying here? And just what does this mean to us, and particularly to us today? Now, here are a few things that biblical scholars have to say. And to be pure in heart is to be pure throughout. To be pure in heart is to be pure throughout. And so here we're going to look at Psalm 24, verse 4, and it says, "Those who have clean hands and pure hearts, who do not lift up their souls to what is false and do not swear deceitfully." Back up to verse 3. "Who shall ascend to the hill of the Lord, and who shall stand in his holy place? Those who have clean hands and pure hearts." We can also, as a consequence of this kind of purity, we see that they will see God. Well, we learned there that they will see God. Who shall ascend? Who shall be able to stand in his presence? They will what? See God. They will what? Be able to not only witness and perceive him, but also to be there in his presence. Okay? Let's jump over to Psalm 73 and verse 1. And there we find this, and it says, "Truly God is good to the upright, to those who are pure in heart." So if we're pure in heart, God is good to us. Hello. If we're pure in heart, God is good to us. So we should strive to what? Be pure in heart. Blessed ones are pure in heart, and guess what? God's good to them. So there is a sense and a measure in which this is true life here and now. Let me say that again. There's a sense and measure in which this is true of life, rather, of here and now. We're not talking about something far off. We're not talking about something that we're going to learn about here shortly that's in the future, or something that's eschatological, even though it does have an eschatological aspect to it. But God being good and true to us, it's not going to just happen to us in the afterlife. God being good to us will happen to us in this life. Blessed ones are pure in heart, And as a consequence, they see God. They will experience the goodness of God in this life. I'm going to reiterate, this is, yes, it has a future aspect, but it has a present aspect. When we look at these Beatitudes, you're going to find out that there is something related to a time in the future, but there's also this aspect of something that's relating to what's happening right now in your life. And as we said before, the sayings of Jesus here would not be good news to that group of people if it did not resonate with what they were looking for, if it did not resonate with their what? Expectation. They were expecting the Messiah to show up. They were expecting a divine visitation. And Jesus is simply reiterating what the Hebrew scriptures have said about the kind of lifestyle that God honors. Blessed ones have this kind of lifestyle. They were also regarding the coming of the Messiah. And all these things that Jesus was saying, along with the signs to confirm he was the person in the Hebrew passages. He made it clear, Luke 4:18, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me because he's anointed me to what? Bring good news to the poor, to relieve the broken, bruised, and battered, if I was to expand upon that. He was talking to that group of people right there in the audience in the synagogue. When he sat down, he basically said, I'm the one you're looking for. I'm the person in the passage. So Jesus was this, he was what they were looking for. So when he made these Beatitudes, he was speaking to them, that they could have hope, that they could allow their anticipation and their expectation to ascend above their oppression. And if that is true then, it is most certainly true now, that because of the good news that we find in the words of Jesus, blessed ones are pure in their heart, pure in their thought life. They will see God. They will see God visit their life in ways that's unimaginable. So that's the here and now. But pure in heart to see God in a way that is impure, that the impure would never know. The pure in heart see God in a way that the impure never know. But the main thought is surely eschatological. It points us to a vision too wonderful to be fully experienced in this life, but that will come to its consummation in the world to come. So, both and. There's an experience that will blow your mind, that's waiting for some time in the future, when the new heaven and the new earth has come. But there is a part that even right now, if I'm pure in heart, I'm going to see God. If I'm pure in heart, those who are impure will never be able to see God or experience God in ways that's only reserved for the blessed ones. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Here, too, we're on Old Testament ground. There, the difference between outward and inward purity and the acceptableness of the latter only in the sight of God are everywhere taught. The Old Testament is echoing this idea of being pure in heart. It was not something that Jesus introduced for the first time in their audience. It was an echo from the law and the prophets. And it says, he says, and we can go on to say that nor is the vision of God strange to the Old Testament. And though it was an understood thing that this was not possible in this present life. But he said, you cannot see my face, no one shall see me and live. Exodus 33 and 20. Yet spiritually, it was known and felt to be the privilege of the saints here. Psalm 63 and 2 says, so I have looked upon you in the sanctuary, beholding your power and glory. Only the pure in heart can look upon Yahweh in the sanctuary and behold his power and glory. On the one hand, you can't see my face and live. Yet spiritually, we have this privilege of seeing God, where people that don't have this connection with God can't see him nor perceive him. But the opportunity is there for everyone to see and perceive God. God is not so far away that we are left out of the loop of experiencing divine sight, vision, and the like. He is available and he's accessible and he's within our purview every day. In fact, he told his disciples before he left the scene, I will not leave you comfortless. And the word there, comfortless, I will not leave you as orphans, but I will come to you. He gives us this idea that he's the connection between humanity and the heavenly parent, the one we call Father, the one that brought us into being, as it were. The pure in heart have access in the now to see him, to experience him, to fellowship with him in ways that those who are not pure in heart, or let me put it this way, those who are not ready will not receive the benefit of that come to those who are in right standing. So, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. The Old Testament is echoed here. There we see the difference between outward and inward purity, and the acceptableness of the latter only in the sight of God are everywhere taught. Nor is the vision of God strange to the Old Testament. And though it was an understood thing that it was not possible in this present life, but yet we've come to understand that even though that experiencing God in a way that was appeared to be not possible, yet the privilege, now this is true privilege. You know, we live in a world that's based upon material and social privilege. But there is the kind of privilege that you can only have by having a divine connection. And this privilege enables us to see him, reiterating Psalm 63 and 2 again. So I've looked upon you in the sanctuary, beholding you, or beholding your power and glory. Well, as we wrap this up today, I want to invite you to the book of Ezekiel 36 and 26 through 28. As we come to the conclusion about blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Now here we find Yahweh is speaking to the prophet, to what? The Israelites. And he was assuring them that I'm going to make it possible for you to have access to me at all time. And he says, a new heart will I give you, and a new spirit I will put within you. And I will remove from your body the heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh. I will put my spirit within you and make you or cause you to follow my statutes and to be careful to observe my ordinances. Then you shall live in the land that I gave to your ancestors, and you shall be my people, and I will be your God. So here, the prophet is being a mouthpiece of God, echoing, reminding, and letting them know that, look, the land of your ancestors is your destiny. Although it may seem like it isn't right now. And you've fallen short many times of really being the kind of people, being the version of humanity that I want you to be. But I'm going to fix that for you. I'm going to give you a new heart and a new spirit. And that will become the internal influence that will guide you to what? Follow my statutes and observe my ordinances. Now, some of us today who lean more evangelical understand this to be what? The born again experience. And whether we lean evangelical or whether we lean Pentecostal or whether we lean Anglican or Catholic or whatever tradition that has enriched your experience with God, the truth is he will give us a new heart and he will put a new spirit within us. And that internal influence will guide us to keep his statutes and to carefully observe his ordinances. And whatever he's promised to our ancestors, we know we have this ultimate promise that we are to be his people and he will be our God. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Are you hungry? Are you thirsty? Are you looking for a change in life? The changes in your life are just a heartbeat away. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. God bless you. I hope you enjoyed this segment, this lesson here. We're looking at the Beatitudes through a different lens. We're looking at these are things that blessed ones do. Blessed ones do a lot of different things, and I'm going to reiterate what I said earlier that blessed ones do. And let me say this. Living a blessed life draws divine things into proximity and accessibility. The Beatitudes of Jesus are still good news to the broken and to all those who seek to be in proper standing with God. Blessed ones, when it's in their power to do so, will display acts of mercy to those desperately in need. In other words, they don't just think about themselves, but they think about others. And there is no better life than to be God-filled and fully satisfied. And the blessed ones are God-filled. And the blessed ones are fully satisfied by that indwelling. And as a consequence of that, we do all the things that these macarisms, these Beatitudes outline, rather than getting certain things because we're a certain way, we do certain things. We'll see you next time as we continue in this lesson or this series on Tell Me Something I Didn't Know about the Beatitudes. God bless you. We'll see you next time.